I want to talk about that Eldora Crown race 2018, I believe it was at Eldora. Let's break it down though, because for 50 laps, like that was a lot happening in a short amount of time for a crown race. So, you didn't start at the front of that race. So, and you were able to quickly but efficiently, and methodically as well, get your way to the front of the field. So, how did you get up to the front as quick as you did?
I think we had an issue in qualifying. I think that's why we started. I think we started like ninth or tenth, and we had an issue qualifying, and the motor didn't run quite right. It might not have been up to temperature, but just from racing the sprint car, quite a bit, and at that time, um, Courtney had been kicking our butt at Eldora, and we were trying everything we could to keep up with him. And I'd learned a lot from following him and just racing in general at Eldora. We don't get to do it a whole lot like back in the day. They went there a lot more than two or three times. But I ran through the middle and just slid guys and until I got track position. Um, I felt like if I ever would get an open ground that I could make a lot of speed on the top by myself, and I could, but it would every 4 or 5 laps later I would knock the fence down and I would lose everything that I had gained. Um, Looking back, I'm really grateful that I was racing KT because he always left me a lane up there, and I've raced KT a lot, and he's always raced me super clean, and you don't get that a lot anymore. And the respect level in Silver Crown racing should be there. Those cars are big and heavy, and they're supposed to be the premier series, right? Um, so just getting to the lead, and KT just pestering me there through the middle. It was even special that he was driving the Galen Fox car, the 56 car. But just I felt like I could never make any clean laps. The cushion was so thin and the car was so heavy that we just kept banging the wall, and I think we bent just about everything on a race car that night. Um, just to I'm sure like my dad talked about pacing back and forth on top of the trailer and just feeling like I'd thrown the race away 6 7 times it seemed like, and just the white flag could never come out. I just kept counting and looking at the big screen and trying to count that race down, and it just felt like an eternity.
And you mentioned getting on the wall early, and that was one of the things that even myself watching back home at the time was really surprised you were doing. Because everybody, like you mentioned, you passed a couple cars low and through the middle, but when you got towards the front, you were smacking the wall every lap. Why were you willing to put it on the fence that early in the race? Because again, that's just something that at the time we didn't expect with somebody in a Silver Crown car.
Well, we'd just gotten out of the sprint car, and I think we'd ran second to Tyler, and we'd been smacking the wall for 30 laps in that car, and I felt like if I got up there, the sooner I did it and got my rhythm going, that I would get it figured out by the end of the race. And it was just so treacherous. I never did really get it figured out. I just kept making mistakes, and I honestly I felt like I didn't do a very good job after that race because of how many mistakes I made. And I luckily the car stayed together, or KT would have easily won that race. I mean, anything could have happened, and just getting up there and doing it is the hard part. I mean, when you're this close to the wall, I mean, it doesn't hurt nearly as bad as it does whenever you're sliding across and run into it. The wall's been there for a long time and it's not going anywhere.
And then the other thing too that in this race that really shocked me while watching it and rewatching it, getting ready for this interview, is you and KT. You guys were racing pretty hard for second, and then you catch the leader Shane Cottle, and you guys are about three wide for 3 or 4 laps. Even though it was a 50th lap race, did you think at any point in that three wide battle, hey, I need to conserve my race car and actually make sure I can make it to the end of this thing?
I don't think there was any conserving out of me for sure. I don't know about KT or Cottle, but I was definitely 100% committed the whole race. Normally, Eldora, the racetrack gets so slow on lap times that you don't really hurt the tires there. The racetrack's completely gone. There's not a whole lot of tire temperature, so like you can be pretty hard on the tires there and get away with it versus some of the other places we go where the track's a lot more abrasive and you have to conserve one, either conserve fuel or conserve your tires, or both. And Eldora is normally neither of those. You can normally go out and attack it, as soon as a green flag drops. And like I said, the Silver Crown cars now, we pretty much race them like sprint cars. They just a longer race. We've, for whatever reason, the cars have gotten more sprint car like.
Yeah, that's very interesting to hear you say, because I was talking with Justin, not on the podcast, but just a couple weeks ago, about the crown cars, and he said the same exact thing. So it's very interesting to hear you say that. But then we get down to the end of that crown race. KT is hounding you. You mentioned it earlier. You were smacking the wall just about every lap. What did you have to do to hold off KT in those closing laps to score that big win?
I just need to be consistent. It's all I need to do is make consistent laps on the top, and just I kept smacking the wall off of two. It's super characteristic of Eldora to be just black slick to the fence off of two, and I was getting a little bit of drive off of the concrete there, and it just, I felt like just I was so inconsistent that KT was able just to slow roll the middle there, and I just needed to make consistent laps. And looking back, if I would have just slowed down a little bit, I think I would have been better off. But I felt like during the race, when I slowed down just a little bit, that KT was able to pester me, and I had to drive just a little bit out of the comfort zone. And I think that's fitting for Eldora. You're never truly in the comfort zone there. You always have to be hung out and on the edge, and right close to disaster.